As Time magazine put it, it was a political earthquake that shattered the credibility of the White House's Bomb Iran Brigade. The publication of the National Intelligence Estimate in the U.S. revealing that Iran gave up its nuclear weapons program back in 2003 put the Bush administration's credibility under the media microscope and tested to the max the Fourth Estate's willingness to say anything good about Iran. That's our starting point this week. Would the U.S. media put the blinkers back on and revert to the kind of supine reporting we saw over Iraq and WMD? Or would they tell it like it is, or at least how the intelligence experts say it is?
A stunning development in Washington.
That says Tehran had halted its nuclear weapons program 4 years ago.
The impact of the Iran intel story was seismic.
Has sparked strong reactions in the Middle East.
Rippling across media in the U.S., Europe, and into the Middle East.
In Washington, the White House urged the leading countries to increase pressure on Iran despite the conclusions of the report.
President Ahmadinejad told foreign reporters that Iran's nuclear case has closed, adding the West's media hype is there to pile more pressure on Iran.
Arab and Iranian TV are abuzz with the latest news. But what I found more interesting and amazing this time is the U.S. media's reactions to this.
On October 17th, you warned about the prospect of World War III. When months before you made that statement, this intelligence about them suspending their weapons program back in '03 had already come to light to this administration. So can't you be accused of hyping this threat, and don't you worry that that undermines U.S. credibility?
For one thing, it has been a while since we saw the president being grilled at a press conference, like when the NIE report hit the White House like a bomb.
The grilling continued for days, with the White House press secretary facing the question reporters have reflexively asked ever since the days of Watergate. What did the president know, and when did he know it?
But the president said, quote, he didn't tell me what the information was. But you're now saying he was told that Iran may have halted its nuclear weapons program and also that there may be a new assessment, right?
Right, but he didn't get any of the details of what the information was in terms of what the actual raw intelligence was.
You just said he didn't tell me what the information was.
Okay, look, I can see where you could see that the president could have been more precise in that language, but the president was being truthful.
Many in the media who were burned around the Iraq issue very clearly knew that their mistakes had been made. With Iran, here was a chance to be very clear that they were responsible, that they were thoughtful, and that they were just not going to accept propaganda.
Was the president told that there was a possibility that Iran's nuclear program could be suspended? That's what you said he was told.
Okay, I grant you, he could have been more precise in his language.
So we saw on television and we saw in print over and over again journalists speaking out and doing their job as to here is the reality versus here what we've been told.
It felt as though elements of the U.S. news media that fell woefully short of the journalistic mark on Iraq were using the Iran intel story to reestablish their credentials.
It was amazing, for example, to watch MSNBC's Keith Olbermann, not mincing words, practically calling the president a liar and an idiot.
The pathological presidential liar or an idiot in chief. It is the nightmare scenario of political science fiction, a critical juncture in our history.
And then there's Fox News.
The bad news is that anti-American people will use the new intel to mock the USA and diminish the threat from radical Islam. You have to understand that there are Americans who despise their own country, feel the USA is the cause of terrorism in the world.
Robert Greenwald's film company has had an ongoing campaign about Fox News' reporting of Iran and a nuclear threat that U.S. intelligence now says has been non-existent since 2003.
10 kilotons in a refrigerator in a cargo container could kill 1 million people.
It is too late to stop Iran's nuclear program.
They're at war now.
The attacks are connected to al-Qaeda, but is Iran pushing the terror buttons?
Fox's response to the new intelligence report veered from the dubious to the incoherent. And the network did multiple interviews with Israeli officials who said that all those U.S. intelligence agencies were flat out wrong about Iran.
You have to understand, one report doesn't turn Ahmadinejad from what he is into a Mother Teresa.
One of Israel's state-run channels echoed the line that the intelligence was flawed.
Iran has probably restarted its nuclear weapons program.
And it heard from an Israeli commentator that the media weren't just getting the story wrong, they were at the heart of the problem.
You know, we always have to be careful because you have the media and you have the intellectual debate and you have the op-eds. But what's really important is policy.
Another approach to the story, adopted to varying degrees by many news outlets, focused on the intelligence estimate's conclusion that even if Iran no longer has a nuclear weapons program, it used to.
And now the narrative goes on to say that Iran, by enriching uranium, can at any time resume its program for building nuclear weapons, and therefore it's still a threat to global security. And so a whole new narrative is now being propagated, and again the media is not challenging or questioning this.
There is a definite news divide in American media, and seldom has it been more obvious than on this story.
You've got that classic divide between the likes of Fox News on the one side, who are very pro-war still and trying to ridicule the intelligence agencies, and then the other extreme, who are simply, again, lashing out to the Bush administration for practically lying to the American public.
I'm particularly pleased that journalists have been asking these questions, hard questions, not accepting the propaganda, not accepting the ideology and the theology that there must be a war. And I think we are all much the better for it.
Still, given the news divide in the reporting of the Iran story, media consumers must be discerning in deciding which media outlets to believe. Our Global Village voices now on the reporting of Iran and the nuclear story.
So now all of a sudden, American intelligence agencies are credible. But a few years ago, when those same intelligence agencies said that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, the news media said, you're a liar. The Bush administration put you up to it so we could go to war. Now make your mind up. Are the intelligence agencies are telling the truth or they're telling a lie?
We had headlines from CNN saying that calling Iran a threat still on that day the report was released. Time magazine used a headline saying the fallout from the Iran nuclear report, using blatant nuclear terminology. The media is not taking advantage of the opportunity that has been presented to them, and the worst part of all is that the public is not being informed, and you would assume that that is the job of the media.
Too many media outlets in the U.S. continue to push forth the xenophobic and jingoistic agenda to prey on the fears of the common American. Rhetoric on Iran has and will continue to soften, but a poignant question still remains. Given the nuclear capacity of India, Pakistan, and most significantly Israel, why should Iran have given up its nuclear ambitions in the region when everybody else is doing the same thing?